don't do speeches. So my intro is brief. My intro is I don't do speeches. So if you have any questions, I guess there is a mic for the audience. There might be answers. I don't know, because I'm advertised as a presenter here. And a presenter is someone who has to present something. But what is difficult to do is to present the present. The present is that which I have to present. And how do you present the present? So, if you have questions, there might be answers. Also, the time is relatively short here. Those who are interested in following up and who are not too bored by what I have said, we have a follow-up meeting at the Eden Vale room at, I think, 3:30.
Hi, Francis. Maybe I've heard you speak before and I've listened to your teachings before, but actually I don't really know much about your story. Would you be willing to
About what?
Your story, like how you've come to this place of knowing, and if you could just share a little bit about that.
I don't know. I'm not in a place of knowing. I'm in a place of not knowing much. And the older this body grows, the less I know, and that which I know is less and less reliable. So I'm afraid I'm not. Not too good for this answer. Sorry. Sorry.
So how do you feel? Like how in your everyday life and like right now, and how does it feel to be you?
Well, depends. It depends what you means. If you means the body, sometimes I'm up, sometimes I'm down. But if me feels me, if me means me, yes, quite good. Quite good.
So what's the difference between you and me?
The difference between me and my body is that my body appears to me. I don't appear to my body.
Hi.
That was a short one.
Sorry. Hi, Francis. I'm over here.
Well, here?
Yeah, here.
Where is here?
It's here now.
Okay.
So, okay. I'm in love with concepts. More so than I'm in love with just being. There's a wanting to be in love with being, but just I love these concepts. Do you have any advice on like how I can just maybe more surrender to just being and go beyond the concept and just drop into that? And stay there?
It depends what we mean when we say, I'm in love with concepts. It's like when we say, I'm in love with music. are we really in love with music, or are we really in love with the experience that real music takes us to? You see? So concepts are like music. You know, there is music and there is military music. It's not quite the same, right? And they are beautiful concepts. And it's okay to be in love with beautiful concepts or intelligence concepts. Because in fact, when we say I'm in love with intelligent concepts, in fact, we are in love with the intelligence the concepts point to. You see? So there is nothing wrong with intelligent concepts. I think, if anything, there is an insufficient supply of those in the current world. You see, the mind is a tool. If this tool is used as a slave of ignorance, it takes us to bad places. But if it is used as a servant of intelligence, then why not use it? People who say, everything you say is intellectual, everything is thoughts. Often, people who denigrate concepts and thought, often, they are full of those. Just as they are full of stupid ones. You see? In other words, their thoughts are not in order. They are not in harmony. They move from one desire to a fear, from a fear to a desire. It's a mess. It's agitation. A silent mind doesn't mean a mind with no thoughts. Otherwise, a corpse would be perfectly silent. But a silent mind is a mind in which the thoughts proceed in harmony, in an harmonious fashion, in an orderly fashion. So the silent mind has thoughts? Yes, of course. A silent mind, in my book, is a mind which is not, which is free from worries. It's a mind which is free from worries, free from worries about the future, free from worries about the me, about a separate entity.
So the thing is, there's a monkey mind. And,
Yes.
and it's filled with intelligent concepts, because it's all I think about is all the stuff that I've been learning from these intelligence. I think about it all the time. And then I do my best to just, because I got these amazing intelligent friends who are like, you got this story down. You understand this. Okay?
Well,
you need to just be and shut up.
when the mind is intelligent, and when it has arrived at some understanding, doesn't need to come back twice. Once you have clearly understood the truth about Santa Claus, as an adult, it doesn't worry, you don't need to reinvestigate the thing, You don't need. What?
There's a conceptual understanding, and then there's a knowing, right?
Well, I would understanding and concepts don't take place at the same time. First, there is a concept, or there is a thought that seeks understanding, and then there is the understanding. You see, for instance, if I say, I apologize to those who already know the joke, do you know why the Pope kisses the tarmac when his plane lands in a foreign country? And the answer to this is, you would do the same if you flew Alitalia. Okay, and I apologize to the organizer of here, both for the Pope and for the national airline. But the point I'm making is a little bit different. No, I'm sorry about the tangent. The point is that up until I delivered the punchline, you were in a kind of suspended situation, right? The understanding was not there. Why? Because there was a missing part, right? So it wasn't up, it was up until I delivered the last word of the punchline, Alitalia, that then made the laughter possible, the understanding possible, which shows experientially, I hope, that the understanding comes after the concept, right? So often, because the concepts, of course, they are thoughts, and thoughts are not real. The thought is not the thing, right? So we want the thing. We don't care much about the thought. So the problem is that if we put in the same category the understanding and the thought, we miss the mark. We have to understand that they belong to two different realms. So the thought, yes, is not real, but understanding has an experiential quality. Now, when understanding, so understanding can apply to jokes or to practical issues in life or to mathematics, physics, whatever. This is still a form of understanding that applies to objects, to stuff. But something different takes place when understanding applies or is relative to that which understands. In other words, understanding that understands itself. The understanding that understands consciousness, for instance. Now that becomes really experiential. If you think about the word, a normal word, such as table or chair, doesn't deliver the thing it refers to, its referent. If I think chair, that doesn't create a chair, at least not in my world, but perhaps in some New Age thought, but not in my scientific mind. So, but, in other words, the word doesn't deliver the thing, generally speaking. However, there is one exception. Among all the concepts, there is one exception, which is consciousness or reality. Why? Because the word consciousness appears in its referent. Unlike the word chair, which doesn't appear in a chair, or chocolate doesn't appear in chocolate. The word consciousness appears in its referent. And therefore, from there is no place to move to. It delivers. Therefore, the word about consciousness or realities, these words are very potent because they lead to an experience. They lead to the experience of their referent. Okay, I'll let you go because it was too many words.
Hello. The topic today is the mystery of life. Could you share your wisdom about it?
Yeah, I'm going to tell you a true story. Maurizio, the organizer, they sent me an email telling, they know I don't do speeches, and they give me a subject, the mystery of being human. And then I say, no way, I come down to put that, because everything I say is that we are not human beings, that we are consciousness, that we are reality. As human beings, we are divided. As consciousness, we are one. So I didn't like the title, The Mystery of Being Human. So I had to say something. I say, well, the mystery of life. But as I said, I don't do speeches. I have no clue about the mystery of life. That's why it's a mystery.
Hi. I was just thinking about Greg McCowan wrote a book.
About?
A man named Greg McCowan, I think, wrote a book called Essentialism. And I haven't read the book from cover to cover, but what he talks about is the difference between the undisciplined pursuit of more, which is quite common in our society, versus the disciplined pursuit of less but better. So I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about the word discipline, and I'm thinking about it in context of control. So many of our spiritual processes are very surrendering into a flow and into a not knowing and into an unfolding. And part of our spiritual processes are also about a concept of discipline. So do you have anything to say about discipline or control or how they relate or don't relate?
I'm not very good with discipline. It's not really. I'm French, with some Italian roots. So, well, I'm more for enthusiasm. I think we should follow our enthusiasm, what our heart truly wants. And then that may create a behavior which, to an external observer, looks like discipline. But the inner experience is one of happiness, and interest in what we do. Whereas, and in other words, in this case, the reward is not in the future. The reward, it's a self-rewarding type of pursuit or activity. Very different from pursuing an ulterior motive, a goal to achieve, and there is a price to pay, and I have to suffer. We have to suffer in order to be happy in some thereafter. So this type of discipline is not my cup of tea. If the goal is the ease of being, the happiness, the effortlessness, how could piling up more effort and more misery take us closer to the goal? That's a good question, I think. What? No, as I mentioned, if our energies are focused by our own interest, our own enthusiasm, for someone looking from the outside, it may look like discipline. And make, this guy, yes, he's meditating 5 hours a day, and then he stands on the head for 2 more hours.
Yes.
You know,
I understand all that. And then the last thing you said, made it sound like discipline was, a bummer. So
Yes.
it's
So
very,
the one with effort,
it's
yes.
just a word, it's a very interpretive word. So I think that's probably why there's inquiry about it, because it's a very big component, I think, of what drives societies.
Yeah, because of this goal to be achieved, an objective goal, happiness is always somewhere else. We seek happiness where it cannot be found.
Hi, Francis. I like to ask teachers or friends such as yourself a question about how to integrate being the background of awareness in daily life. I have a podcast called Awareness Explorers where we focus on really simple methods that can help people integrate being awareness in life. And I'm wondering if you have any suggestions for doing that.
I think what we have to implement in life is our understanding. The understanding, our conceptual understanding, our heart's understanding, and the understanding of our senses. Truth, the intellectual understanding, love, the heart's understanding, beauty, the understanding from the senses. So we have to cultivate that in our lives. We have to give truth, love, and beauty priority. That would be my suggestion. Also, to live in accordance with our understanding. It's not sufficient to be open to the possibility that awareness, the reality which is hearing my words right now, that this awareness is universal, meaning that we all share it, that it is our common ground. It is not sufficient to play with this idea like playing with a toy, but we have to make it the vehicle with which we travel through life, you see, and also to test it, even if it seems to be only a theory that you and I, we are the same consciousness, to interact with others, being open to this possibility, to see what happens when we deal with others from this vantage point, from this perspective. And what happens is magical. But we have to put it to the test.
Francis, my question is, what do you think of humans' free will versus preordained?
I don't see.
Okay.
Yes, no.
Francis, my question is about human free will versus preordained. Can you comment on those two? I'm always torn between these two.
What is preordained?
Preordained is fate or divine's will, or divine's power of doing what you're doing.
I don't understand.
Is there a free will or no? Is there a human free will or no human free will?
I don't think there is human free will because the human machine is just a machine. The flow of thoughts and decisions there is no headquarters really. The wave packets the body is comprised of, or the quarks and gluons, I mean, they dance with all the surrounding quark and gluons. They are part of the same quantum fields. And the electrochemical reactions that take place in the brain, they are not the product of an isolated system. So I don't think there is, on that level, on the level of the body-mind, real freedom. But on the other hand, if consciousness or awareness is real, as if there is only one reality, then on that level, of course, there is absolute freedom, which, in fact, explains the fact that we feel that we create our thoughts from this freedom, from our freedom, which is a true feeling we have. It's true. But where we are mistaken is when we believe that we create those as separate human entities. So we have inside, as consciousness, we know our freedom, and we know that we are the creator of those thoughts. But they still are cosmic occurrences, cosmic phenomena. To put it in a nutshell, as a human being, we are a fake entity, and we have a fake freedom.
Last question.
Hi. Thank you for being here. That got me to thinking about collective consciousness. And you talked about thoughts arising out of that state of pure awareness and free will. I got the sense that you meant that as consciousness, as a collective consciousness, there's a freedom. And I just wondered if you would speak more to that collective field, especially in terms of human consciousness, like in the present moment.
I'm confused by the question. First, when people use the word consciousness, we have to define what it means. I never use the word consciousness in terms of content of consciousness. I use consciousness as a reality that perceives. If there is only one reality, it follows that the reality that perceives is also the reality that creates, the reality also that is the substance of everything. So when you talk about human consciousness versus consciousness, to me it doesn't mean anything. To me there is only one consciousness, only one reality. Now, as content of consciousness, yes, the content of consciousness changes, varies. So could you try to clarify your question so that we don't speak apples and oranges?
I'll speak personally, and it might make it more clear. When I reach a state of awareness where I'm not in my content mind, I feel connected to a state of being that is collective and present moment. And that means it's a content mind of the collective, I guess. And I'm just curious about that and this concept of free will and what you might, I guess what I'm hearing from you is that there's that there are two different things: awareness, the pure field of awareness, and what I would call the present moment collective consciousness. Is that true? Are they two different things?
For me, consciousness, for me, there are not two things. For me, there is only one reality. And for you too, actually. When I talk about consciousness or awareness, I mean the reality which is hearing these words right now. That's the best definition I could give. And we usually believe that this reality, which is hearing these words right now, is localized somewhere, that it is separate and limited, that it was born, that it is going to die, etc. But if there is only one reality, the truth is that in this moment, that which is hearing is this universe. You know, if you call that the collective, yes, that's our common reality. That which is hearing through all these ears, and that which is speaking through all these mouths is the same, you know, because there is only one reality, there is only one Brahman, universe. So we are over with time. I'm sorry. Thank you.